Okay, I think I got it
Okay.
recording.
Meeting recording in
So,
progress.
yes, the Clarity Subcommittee has come to order here at 2 minutes after 2. And the first order of business is to select a chair. So, anyway,
Does
I'd
anybody
be
want to
willing
be
to
chair?
continue on. Huh?
Does anybody want to be chair?
I would be willing to continue on. Just I'm sort of on a roll on this right now. If you like, and I could get the reports done since I
I
have a
nominate Commissioner Doug
little
Lasher.
more time than you.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Well, we'll just go ahead and declare
Unanimous
that
consent.
by acclamation. And the purpose of this committee, and I kept titling it Clarity Committee because I think that's really, it keeps it simple and what we're about. The purpose is to provide a readable document for the average citizen to reduce the governmentee's language and to explain how, in sort of descriptive language, grammar, look at past clerical errors, eliminate RCW numbers. I think that's one of the things that makes it difficult. I'd rather explain what's behind there because people aren't just going to, the reader isn't just going to jump to a state law book and try to find out what we're saying. So uh, the it's very easy within a sentence or so to explain it. So it makes it much more readable for the person understanding what we're trying to do. Um, so the outcome would be a document that provides the reader a little more understanding in how their county government is structured. And I hopefully you've all gone through the charter, and I'd just like to suggest that we start on Article 1 and go through Article 10 and see if there are any changes. Again, I'm assuming that everybody
Okay.
has looked at the charter.
So
And
Doug,
hmm?
just are you talking about like today or overall as the activity of the
Well,
committee?
I think we could probably get it done within the next hour or less than an hour.
Okay.
At least or identify. I mean, if there's some other things that we need to work on, we could come back and do it. So,
Okay.
but um, right now, I think we should be able to uh, go go through it because we are on a deadline here of preparing a report to the commission and to the drafting committee. And
Okay.
the if you need to take a break, just holler out and we'll just put the meeting to ease because I know I've been drinking a lot of tea lately today, and so I may need to take a
Water in, water
little
out.
break. Yeah. So, and I believe that our committee will continue for the whole year. Hopefully we could just sort of finish phase 1 now and maybe come back because there might be things that will be brought up later that we just didn't see that we need to clean up down the road.
Can we talk
Some of
about
this,
what that would mean phase one and what you foresee as other phases? Just kind of get like a broad overview of
yeah,
what this would look like moving
phase
forward.
phase 1 is trying to address the sort of the 5 areas that we've talked about, and the other areas would be, we've talked about that may require some more strategic planning around things like ranked choice voting or, the ethics committee I know is working on some things, and I don't know if they're going to be ready or not. There's certain phase 1 is more of critical issues that need to be decided now so that for next year's election, so that counselors know, what districts they're running in and how many we're going to have, and um, the different, if we're partisan or nonpartisan, that is a critical one, um, and determining that process. So those are sort of the phase 1 things that people have to have in order for them to be, in order for everybody to know how we're going to run our elections next year. So,
Great.
uh, um, and so anyway, we may be able to get most of our work done today and then just may have to do another meeting, I don't know. And then just we hang hang loose until second phase, I guess, if because I think the drafting committee will get things sort of pulled together, and they'll
Okay.
probably do a little cleanup too. So anyway,
Oh, no doubt.
I thought we go ahead and start with Article 1. And did anybody have any suggested changes in the powers of the county? These are
Well, let's have
what
a
was
read
taken
through.
out of the statutes, but just you need to make them more easily understood. We could do that.
There's just some formatting things, but I'm looking real quick to see if it's just in the transition from like PDF into Word or
Yeah.
if it's.
So I asked Tina if she would give us a clean copy, not one that's been converted from PDF to Word. She's working on it, but I'll be referencing the Clark County Charter.org where I can read the actual text at least. For the formatting stuff, I'm not really looking at.
Yeah, and I have that too. I printed it out.
Wonderful.
So we have that. I could take notes for anything changes you
So
like.
actually, before we start on one, could we talk a little? Are there any other big sweeping things? Like I like the idea of not just being like for RCW this, that, and the other, and actually just saying a sentence or two. And I would say maybe actually add the RCW number as a footnote on the page as well. So have an asterisk by it and have that linked so that they'd be able to reference it as needed. But I think it's a great idea. And I'm wondering if there are any other sweeping things across the whole document.
I sort of disagree with that. I believe that having the RCW in where it's being stated, because we're saying per like Washington State statute and then going in, I completely agree that better defining what that RCW is saying within the sentence itself is a fantastic idea. But I think having it referenced there for people who wish to dig into it more, then have a direct, per Washington State statute, here's the statute, this is kind of what it says and how it affects the sentence.
Okay.
And I think it's just it's that combination of, you know, cleaning up the legalese and having to go in and out of it, but also making it easy for those who wish to dig in further and pursue more knowledge on it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't clip that out entirely when we describe better.
So, Anthony, you're talking about keeping it in the body of the letter rather than footnoting it? Okay.
That, yeah,
I mean, body of the document letter.
It identifies the exact place to look in the sentence. I think that makes sense actually.
But yeah, but anyway, as long as it's still referenced somewhere, but then also verified within.
There's one section which we'll get to as part of my list. I think you've both have seen my suggested cleanup changes around this treasure, where it talks about 3629010, and really that is a very limiting statute. It doesn't really talk about the duties of the treasurer. They probably, and every elected official has probably 500 to 1,000 statutes that they're trying to operate under, and that's just at the state level. It doesn't necessarily mean at the state or at the federal level that they have to do too. So, okay, well, on the Article 1, powers of the county, I didn't have anything to change there. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to bring up?
Can you give me? I was waiting to do a deep dive until after we had our initial meeting, so I'm kind of reading through right now.
Oh, okay. So you
haven't a little bit.
I
haven't done the fine picking comb over it yet. No.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been studying this stuff for years.
Yeah.
So
Well, I definitely had thoughts and stuff from about it in this regard, but
well, we could. Do you want to read each
just recapping?
section?
I don't think we can do it out loud, but just really quickly, I just kind of want to look through it before we move
Okay.
along. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Section 1, I think I'm good with.
Okay. I was just looking at.
Yeah, I remember what it was for this one actually. Section 1.5, clarity and like little finicky things. On January 1st, 2015, the effective date of the charter. the legislative executive powers shall be separated. This has all been done. I wonder if we can't just clip 1.5
Yeah.
altogether,
Uh,
or if we need to put
Or make it
statement
past
in
tense.
or make just the last sentence.
yeah, or if that should be rolled into the general powers piece. So keep that last sentence. Is there another place that it would fit?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Oh, are you taking notes too, Doug?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
That's what my head
Thank
goes down.
I want to make sure I thought so.
So take out on January 1st, 15. How about saying instead of each branch, the two branches of government is well, I think they wanted how about on just taking out on January 1st, 2015, the effective date of this charter, and just say the legislative and executive powers shall be separated into two branches.
Can we say they
that
are because they were separated 5 years ago?
Have been.
oh
Have been, yeah.
Something to make it more a past, I guess, a past tense statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well wouldn't you want to say shall that
We could say shall remain.
okay.
That's what they use in 1.4 for something that already exists,
Take out the word be.
and replace it with remain.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
One thing too is when we at some point the attorneys are going to go back in here and probably screw everything up. No, I'm just
No doubt. Yeah.
teasing for the recording.
So the legislative
But
and executive powers shall remain separated in two, so in, not into.
in
Or as. Separated as two branches of government.
okay. Got the word into and put as. Okay.
I like that. That's okay.
Yeah.
And then
okay.
I'm okay with the second sentence personally.
Okay. So got that then. I will whatever we finished today, I'll retype and put it send it to you so that you could just verify that things have been right. If they're not, please let me know.
Sounds good.
And that way the rest of the group can also take a look at discussion who weren't able to attend today.
Yes. Yeah. Article 2.
So here we're starting to hit the area where we're possibly proposing amendments. So just to check in, we're not talking about content, just the language right now, right?
Yes, right. The
Okay.
non-substantive type of language.
Okay. Just checking.
I know that Kelsey is going to bring up in her report. I wish she could have done it last week, but there is a section that in 2B, a section 2.2B, where it talks about the and she'll probably bring it up. I just want to bring it up in our meeting that it may be something that we may need to come back if she doesn't deal with it or has the time to deal with it. I don't know. But under the second sentence, it said the chair or his designee, and it says will be the county spokesperson to articulate council policies, vision, strategies, and plans. And I've talked to a former county commissioner or counselor, and they said that they that isn't no other elected official is going to speak for them in terms of how they feel the policy should be done. So I think that piece needs to disappear. And you know, I
I
don't know
think
if
that
this is
changes the meaning, so that
substantive.
might not be the
So you think that
place.
might be too substantive? She could handle it. I mean, she
I
could do
do.
it in her meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the
For
other
this
question
body.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other one that she will bring up is supervise constituent response processes for the council as a whole. Um,
Yeah.
it, it's that person doesn't direct the other elected officials what to do. So eh, they're you got five prima donnas up there, and they're not going to be wanting
Yeah.
to deal with that. So that probably doesn't need to be there either. I think that was at a different time and a different thought, and it
Yeah.
really wasn't reality
Yeah.
because again, the whole purpose was more political of putting in the charter last time. So now
Okay.
we're stuck with it because by law or by the state constitution, there's no way you could ever get rid of a home rule charter. It's there
So
from now until eternity.
I
Um,
don't disagree, but I think that would actually change the role of that position if we started changing that too, because
right.
this is
So
right.
it could
Yeah.
be we could Kelsey will probably be bringing this up. I just wanted to mention it. That's in that section. So we could.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has any issues in section 2. Now we could go to section Article 3. I mean.
I keep on thinking
No,
of all the things we've discussed that are actual like changes. I'm like, stay away from that.
Oh yeah, the stuff that's going to change anyway, or has
Yeah.
the potential to change.
Let's see.
yeah.
Oh, I had one thing to bring up. This is partially DEI subcommittee hat too, where there's a few places where we say he or she,
Yeah.
and I would suggest maybe switching those to they because it's been used for hundreds of years as unknown gender, and it's more inclusive.
Right. And so we need to find those spots. I think that's part
Okay,
of our role to do that.
gotcha.
Yeah, I found some, but I may have missed some too.
Yeah, I think we just had one. The
And
chair or
did you?
his or her designee or their designee.
Yeah, it was in that
Ah,
2.2b.
yeah. I
Okay.
let's see what. Uh, well, since we're
And that could be a simple document search for he, him, her, she.
yeah, I think the proposal is where did you? Oh yeah, in B.
Yeah,
I think we could find those
2.2b.
offline and
Yeah,
send
Yeah.
them.
Well, we could still put that in there.
Okay.
Let's put it in there. The chair or their designee. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, could do that because I don't see that in Kelsey's report. I'm on that committee, so that's
Okay.
what I'm referring to.
And that'll be
Uh,
kind of cross-cutting between all these sections as we find
yeah,
them in articles.
yeah.
So I
Well,
think it's just kind of a fair cleanup.
we're sort of the cleanup is if these other groups miss it, hopefully the sweep through that we do will catch it. So, but
Yeah, that
still
may be an
very
advantage of saving ours till 2022 is that then we can take a look at anything that's accepted in 2021 and making sure that it meets the same language requirements that we're putting in the rest of it.
yeah. Okay. Anything else in Article 2?
Just on the last one here, I think. A moment, sorry.
From
Also looking for the his or hers.
Yeah, I know I did all this on like a physical copy of this long ago. And I've long
Same.
since lost that piece of
Same.
paper.
I had it ready for all of my my meetings when I was campaigning, and gotta find that.
This is going to be the most riveting committee if you ever have to listen to this on a
feel sorry
recording.
for you,
It's
poor viewer.
oh no, it's not the viewer; it's just the listener having to listen to this. But maybe
The
some
definition of is
historian will listen to this down the road.
Important record for sure.
future commission member somewhere. Poor soul.
It'll be a nerd just like us.
Yeah, nothing's jumping out at me.
Yeah, it's I think pretty. Oh, there's no, that's my own typo. Never mind.
There's a bunch of things in here that are just from the transfer from PDF
Yeah.
to Word. I'm like, no, nope, that's not
Yeah,
the same as over
yeah.
here. That's a PDF document.
Yeah, I'm good with Article 2 at this point.
Okay, we'll move on to Article 3. And I do have some suggestions in this area.
Yes, you have those outlined as well. So before we
I'll
get
explain
into
my
it,
rationale, and then we could
okay.
go from there.
I was going to ask about your additional discussion piece, if that was just for context, or if you wanted to
no,
add that whole chunk in.
I was interested in adding this in, but that's something that the group would have to make a decision on.
Okay.
Our group. And I'll put the argument that it is non-substantive. So
Tell us about your views on 3.1.
well, I think it was confusing, and talking to the other elected officials, the executive branch, who makes up the executive branch is the county manager, the assessor, auditor, treasurer. It's all those positions. And then if you bring in all the other officers who are the head of different departments, they're not really part of it because they're under the county manager. And so traditionally, it's only been the elected officials and the county manager meeting. And mainly it's a communication time where they just get together and talk about certain issues or whatever. They may have changed since I was sat on that group, but it was mainly a way of the other elected officials voicing their concerns about budget or HR policies or some other county policy that's being adopted. So it was a way of communicating and sometimes a way of working with each other to present our position to the council. And so it didn't really involve officers or employees of administrative departments, which could be medical examiner's office, it could be public health. I mean, all those folks are reporting, have a report structure, and that's what we're trying to do is just clean that up, that definition, that these people don't serve on it, they don't attend it. Who are these officers and employees of the administrative departments? That sounds like 1,500 people to me. So it just didn't make sense putting that in there. And I think it, again, when they were building this charter, they would cut and paste stuff. And there's some other areas where we'll come across that they cut and paste and made some, what I consider clerical errors. It didn't go with the logic necessarily of the paragraph. And that's one of them that I think the officers and employees of administrative departments, because it's really composed of the county manager, who is the boss of those folks anyway. And then that'd mean that an entire sheriff's office staff would be there or something like that. And that'd be like a county-wide meeting. And that isn't what that purpose of that is. It's just for the now I don't know about folks like Anthony in your shop. I don't know if they fall under the county manager or not. I think you're saying
No.
you're a separate entity.
Yeah, we're a
Yeah.
special district.
Yeah. And the Public health used to be their own district at one time, but they got rolled back into the county, not by Clark County's main desire. It was the other counties
Yeah.
decided to leave.
Yeah,
So
folks like Cressa we have like our own administrative board, so we're outside of this whole thing.
So anyway, that's my suggestion, is that we would just take out and the officers and employees of the administrative departments. Is that okay? Because it's
It makes sense to me, by the purpose and intent of the executive branch. Well, yeah, I agree. The way it's written seems to state every employee within the administrative branch.
Yeah, it's implied if you're under the county manager.
Mm-hmm. That was exactly
So,
it. Yeah. Is it under the branch or is it of the branch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like we tell the county manager what to do. We usually are begging, begging for money, begging for IT help, begging for HR help, whatever. Sorry, I still sort of live in that world, so that's why I talk that way. Even though Alicia Topper is doing a fabulous job. The second part, which I had originally put in there, and it's been a little frustrating in the commission for me, that sometimes we have 60 seconds to state our case, and everybody else is just getting ready to think about what they're going to say. And so, no one's listening to everybody. And so it just, it's hard to really communicate this. But I have, over the years, have felt people always come up and ask me, why is the county treasurer elected? Why is the auditor elected? Why are all these positions elected? And I feel in the document, you need to have some way of explaining what the different functions of these operations, because it's a misnomer calling us county treasurer, county auditor, county assessor, because our laws and direction come from the state. We should be really called local government treasurer, because you're serving only 40% of your business is really doing county business. The other 60% is working with your fire districts, your cemetery districts, your school districts, your library districts, uh, the ports, the cities, the state. You're dealing with lots of folks because you're just a sort of a focal point, whether it's elections or recording documents is county-wide. And the function of auto license is really a state function, but the state put in the word, the county auditor shall do this. And so they get stuck doing it. And they could put a different word in there. They could put the county treasurer shall do it. And then the treasurer, in many states, the treasurer does do auto license. And some states, even the assessor does it, in Texas. But anyway, what I was trying to do here was just, there's segregated functions or checks and balances, is to explain to the public, the reader, why we have these different offices and why it's important to do with it. This is information that what I put in here is information that's actually in our associations, because they get the question asked a lot, and why even from some legislators sometimes will ask that question, and then we have to talk to them about how government is structured, and how county government is functions, with all the local entities in town. Because cities can, if a city can unincorporate, and then they would just be part of the county and the county's responsibility. So it melds back and forth, but the county is the local government that creates the function that the state created. Cities incorporate, and they could come and go if they wanted to, but they get football teams and they'll never leave. But anyway, what I was trying to do is say is a critical requirement in the structure of county government and the management of the public's resources. The separate elected officials of the executive branch provide critical roles per Washington State Constitution and state statutes by remaining accessible and accountable to state and taxing districts and citizens by being responsive to citizens' concerns, by bringing that, because in King County, for example, everything goes through Dow Constantine. He served. They got a real pyramid shape there, where it's difficult for school districts or other entities that get services from the county to to they're sort of subject to the whims of what the county is going to provide them, and they don't have really the as much influence over what services that they get. But in the reason why they created treasurers is that they're able to go out there and advocate for the districts in terms of some of the services that they need. That is, for an example, improved financial system so that they could track certain um, items better, or the banking process, because there's just one banking system for basically most of local government. There's some government entities have their own banking systems, but so it's trying to do that, and also by bringing creative approaches to management and delivery of services by advocating for efficient, effective state and county management of their offices with the legislature, and by providing critical checks and balances between the activities of the other county elected officials and taxing districts. So they're keeping an eye on each other is one of the main points there. I've had many times where we've had to tell another department, you can't do that. And we have staff watching over that. We watch their numbers, we watch how they're spending their money. And so we all sort of work on that checks and balances, because if you don't have that, you're ripe for misusing the law and ripe for other illegal acts. So that I was trying to put something in there, and this again was taken out of other documents. It's nothing original.
I was just
And
going to ask
it's
where you got the language from.
yeah, basically it came the Washington Association of County officials, the uh, Washington State Association of County Treasurers have that in there. And actually, it's sort of something that if you look at any of National Association of County Officials or WASAC, or I mean WACO, you'll see the same language that's used in there. And so I thought this would be a good spot of explaining how the composition and the process and the structure works, and how the balancing goes between the different offices. And so that
So, Doug, my thought on this is, I like the idea of having something that describes what the various roles do and kind of the responsibilities, but I have a worry of using the charter for that and putting the like adding a bunch of this language into the charter. Understand that it's for clarity reasons, but then if something should change, like if association should change the wording for clarity reasons, or others down the road have a different idea of what treasure should do, or roles do just change specifically for our county, it could put us at odds with any outside documents. And I think using the charter purely for basically the legal basis and legal language of running the county as it is really where this should stick. And then using, having somewhere outside of the charter to have that kind of educational component.
okay.
That's just my
All right.
thought.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it does read more as a why rather than a direction, as far as, this is the charter, you are chartered to do this. It doesn't quite feel like it's in that the right framing for, yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to
For
have
having a
this.
straightforward, concise
Yeah.
document that defines the roles and responsibilities.
Okay. I understand, and that's why I want to have this discussion,
Yeah.
is to, because I never got that discussion at the commission meeting, and I appreciate both of your comments on that, because
What
it is
I
trying to give an explanation about how the powers is structured.
yeah.
But as you say, it's maybe need to be in a different which it is in different documents. If you go out to their websites, you'll see this
Yeah.
information. Um,
I know you really value having a good explanation, and I wonder if there's not some space for that, like, I don't know, just creating more work, but like kind of an appendix or something. I don't know. Just a
okay,
thought for,
well,
because it seems like this kind of thing comes up time and time again where, you know, we're trying to have a concise document, but we also want to add in that, you know, depth of understanding. But yeah, to somehow make it easier for the constituents to access that would be nice.
yeah,
But
I'll leave it at that,
okay,
and we could. That's why I had it for discussion purposes, because
okay,
that's what I was trying to have people understand how our government works,
mhm,
and the reasons why, I guess, as you were saying, and probably the why needs to be in a different spot,
Yeah,
somewhere
I
else.
think a document that helps do that somewhere would be a great idea, but I'm not sure the charter is the right spot.
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
It was
on
super informative and helpful, though. I just want to make sure to acknowledge that too. I think
yeah,
that's really good. Yeah.
um, the on section 3.5, I took out the word other. It sounds like they're more alien,
Other than what?
and so I just thought elected officials' offices instead of other. That always bothered me when I saw that in the charter.
Could we say specifically elected executive officials?
Hmm. Yeah,
That would at
Okay,
least separate them from the legislative elected officials,
say
yeah. So
without
that
other.
way
being othered.
you're
So
saying they're
say
other, but you're saying exactly what other they are.
other executive. You want to keep the word other in.
Oh,
Is that what you're saying?
elected executive, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Still,
elected
still
executive.
scratching other,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. And I'll take out the word other and insert elected executive officials'
Yeah.
offices.
Oh,
And it
good,
probably need
good.
to do that in the sentence too.
Yeah. I might rewind this a little bit to back to 3.2 under county manager. That's a whole lot of he or she, his or her,
Oh, there are.
in yeah,
I missed that.
in that whole thing.
Oh yeah,
On,
throughout the appointment and all of that, it's
Yeah, like
like
almost
every other
everybody.
line.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So let's go back to that 3.2 before we head on
Okay.
to
Do you want to
uh,
fix through it now?
3.6. Yeah, let's fix that now. Um, so
3.2.A.2,
there.
point 3,
So
six.
in point 2, should we say there, executive power experience?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think just using the
Yeah.
gender neutral language, or version of.
Their experience.
Or number 3 would be no member of the council shall during the time for which they were
They
elected.
were. Mhm.
Um,
Number 6. County manager shall designate a
As-
qualified
as their
employee of the county
deputy?
as their deputy county manager,
Okay.
or the deputy county manager for that matter. I guess they could have more than one potentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the council could
There.
create whatever they want to do. They
Yeah.
could have.
Yeah.
Anything else you see?
So under powers and duties, point number 3, and any other report they may deem necessary.
Which they. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything under 3.3? Oh wait. 3.3.
I think it's okay.
3.4.
Yeah, there's one in
Oh,
B.
there's one. Yeah. Oh, sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Of there.
Then we're back to 3.6. Under their bonds, can you tell us more about that?
Yes. The elected officials are required to have a bond. This is an issue that was brought up in it's in state law. When you're elected, you have to be bonded. It's a way back in the territorial days. They use bonding because they had to trust somebody, but they wanted them to be bondable. So you'd have an outside source like an insurance company guarantee the taxpayers that this guy isn't going to rip them off. And so, because it was guys in those days, and so they required that anybody that worked under that person, they have to have a bond. Uh, you don't see it because their county has a blanket bond coverage for all the other departments, but for elected officials, uh, you have to have a bond, and if supposedly there's under the statutes, and this is a contention that's been going on for quite a while, and it really needs to be solved in Olympia, but uh, the elected officials, people work underneath them, work underneath their bond. If they don't want that person to be uh, off the list, bonded, then supposedly they're not working for the treasurer anymore, or the auditor or the assessor or whoever. And so it's a way of, if the insurance company doesn't want to bond that person, you cannot stay in office. And there was an issue in Pierce County where the employees in an office were filing grievances and lawsuits, and it was costing the county a lot of money. And they went after his bond, and the insurance companies, because of the decisions an elected official may make, they may decide that they don't want to take the bond or risk anymore. And so they could lose it. And if you lose it, then you've lost your requirement to be an elected official. And so it was to just say that shall appoint under their bond, because that's what's in statute, all the officers and employees of their respective elected offices. So it's just
So it
pointing
does
out.
say that in the statute that governs this piece.
Right. It's under 36, I believe 16 statute, but there's one that just
You're gonna hate this, but I think if we add under their bond, we should add the RCW.
The what? The RCW?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could do that.
For
I'll
reference,
put it in
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I would want to look that up as a yeah. As a
What does
me.
that mean?
Wait, what's
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
Oh,
But that hasn't really been tested as much. So
Mm.
if I wanted to say, my office manager, I don't want that person working under my bond anymore. It hasn't been pushed to the point. I haven't seen any court cases where there may be some out there, where they're pushed out and say, well, yeah, if the county wants to continue to keep that person, they could find him somewhere else to work. But I'm not going to have them under my bond because I can't guarantee that they're giving out accurate cash. So, and all the cash handling training that they have, um, it puts me in jeopardy. And so I don't want them working for me. And so they can't qualify under my bond. So, I mean, that's the only way that, one of the ways that officials who have responsibilities, whether you're a sheriff or whoever, get that person out. Maybe that person likes to do chokeholds on people all the time, and the sheriff says, I can't handle that. I've told him not to do that. And other than that, he's great at finding the bad guy or something like that. And but I can't take that risk. So those are the type of situations. And but I'll put in the RCW. It's real clear in there. It it's a section where it says it allows elected officials to hire other people. Because if you take it literally, you'd only have one person running the office, and of course that's not feasible. Um, but you could have, in those days they created the bond, which we all have to have. The treasurer's bond is like $250,000. It's not that much, even though they probably handle $1 billion in monies, but that's under state law. That's why the county has to go out and buy additional insurance, which you do. And actually what the county does right now, they do a blanket insurance that includes the elected officials in that. So they could get a reduced insurance rate costs by pulling everybody and have one blanket. But we get a certificate, and the treasurer is responsible. I think all those copies of those bonds, I always ask for one so I can have it in my file. But I was required to hold the bond for the clerk. For some reason, it's in statute that the treasurer is responsible for holding the clerk's bond, and then the rest of them I think are in the auditor's office. Um, um, but it's really just one document. Purchasing goes out and does it every year. They just buy the insurance for the entire county. Everybody's covered. Um, but they have these sections in there that for each one of the elected officials, and the prosecutor, sheriff, all of them have it. And I don't know if the commissioners do. I don't think they do. Um, so I think that just general bonds or insurance would cover their misdeeds. Um, so I'd take out, um, I could say the executive official shall appoint under their bond with the RCW. I think it probably needs to say instead of other executive elected officials,
Yeah. Yeah. Be consistent with the
because
other change.
again,
Sounds
it
good.
doesn't include the counselors.
Okay.
All right, and then I had another section in there, took out the chief officers and I put an employee shall be appointed on the basis of their abilities, because I just didn't think it should be. I'm assuming that's what they're trying to get at, is, and it makes sort of sense. I don't know if that's substantive or not
Yeah. I
substantive.
don't think we need to have
Uh,
chief in there. It's just all the officers and employees. Well,
right.
the employees
I, I
aren't really appointed though, are they? Is
well,
there a distinction?
it's that's a good question, because you do appoint him to that position. You do hire him.
Yeah, which
Appointment,
is an
hired. I
appointment.
mean, I suppose we could say the word hire. In fact, that might be more modern term to use. I'd be fine with that. Um, because even my chief deputy, I hired that person. Uh, Everybody is hired that's underneath me. They're, yeah, you could say, well, they were appointed because I appointed them. I maybe there's something legal distinction, but I don't know that
Well, that
between
raises a
hiring
question
and
for me
appointed.
about the legal distinctions, where this is all under the purview of the county manager, who I hope would hire people that are not officers based on their abilities, qualifications, integrity, and experience. But it feels like that might be adding in a whole other layer of worms
So
by specifying how we can hire all of our employees, and we could potentially run into some legal hazards there. If we say these 5 things, could they only hire based on those 5 things?
this might be a question for legal counsel.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we can spin around on this over and over again,
Yeah.
but if there's actually like a legal
Well,
answer, like an appointed versus hired versus,
Yeah,
then that
including employees on that, if that
okay.
affects the charge of the manager. Question mark, yeah, definitely. It'd be nice to get a real opinion on that from someone.
Okay. I will contact Chris on that. If that makes a difference. But so we'll take out the word chief. So the officers and employees. Can I leave that in there?
I think that's a question,
Okay. You want
whether
that?
whether that's a problem. I'm okay with it, I think, but
But I assume most people, when you're hiring, they're when we go through the hiring process, we're going to make sure that you uh, have the abilities and qualifications and integrity. I mean, that's all part of the hiring process to find out that we put you on. I'm assuming you all
And
got that, because there used to be at one time where you could just bring. It used to be that we didn't go through HR. We do now because there's too many other labor and legal laws that we could get trapped in if we don't. But it used to be that the elected officials just could
so
appoint and bring
I,
somebody in who's a friend of theirs, and that was, serve more of a uh what do you call it? A part
nepotism.
yeah, and
I, I think we need to send this one because I mean the section is specifically appointments by elected officials. So I think we need to ask if what the intent of this section is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it referring only to specific positions that are like categorized as appointed, or is it referring to employees in general?
I just noticed, I think it doesn't, because it says concerning the duties of the office to which they're appointed, not the position to which they're appointed, or the job. So I think as a county employee, I don't have an office as a program coordinator, right?
Yeah, that might be more when it's looking at like the department heads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. So we're yeah, this would be expanding it over department heads, officers. I guess
I think we should just
are
refer
like
to that once
department
again
head.
legal.
Okay.
Yeah, let's move on.
If I
That
could
recommendation.
get a legal answer from them and just send it to you, and then we could make it just get over the emails just to verify
That's great.
what section, if that section will work or not, um, rather than to reconvene a meeting. In a sense, our meeting is, I mean, we're a committee until the end, so and I know that the drafting committee and the commission will make a decision whether we move forward in phase 1 or phase 2. Some of this,
Yeah.
I don't think our stuff is as timely as
Yeah.
other probably issues are, but
I think
it
that's
may
something you
it
mentioned
may
in the
make sense
email.
to do it now. Why people are willing to make changes and be focused on it, because it may
Yeah.
be more difficult second time around.
I think this is great because we'll be able to do the charter as is now and have that ready as like a baseline. And then once we know what the amendments are going to be, we can do another swing at it to get it ready for
Yeah.
for the second one. So whether or not they move forward with it, I'm really glad that we're starting this now.
Okay.
So
So
number 4. Right?
well, I just want to make a note here. What is the question on adding employees again? I want to make sure I got that right, so I
Go ahead, Anthony.
communicate that to the
Yeah, I think just asking what
attorney.
the intent of 3.6 is it referring to specific appointed positions or is it referring to employees at large?
Okay. Well, I got a hunch it was referring to at that time, a specific person, but it seems like it would be more than just it seems like it would fall under everybody. Everybody would have emotional distress over being laid off.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think let's wait for a response on that. And
Okay.
yeah, then we'll just figure that one out as it comes in.
Okay. In Article 4, are we ready to go there? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments just looking at yours. I just have one preparatory question for those is the additions that you had in there, are those included under the law that's mentioned later?
Oh, I'm what I was in the statute right now. Let me double check here, because I got my here. It 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 talks about the financial administration and in the budget, and the and what I was trying to do is to explain, and we could keep the RCWs in there, but basically it's I originally put in there how the process works. Provide a permanent budget. D is it sort of evolves around D, which I is not really our purview, but I'd like to talk to. I think I've talked to you, Chris, about that sort of in the background
Yeah.
earlier, but I felt that as elected official, we always in sort of got the way the budget process is. The council tells the county manager, I don't want any new taxes, and I want a balanced budget. And they don't tell you. There's never a discussion about there's other revenues out there. Yes, when you bring your preliminary budget and say this is what I need to do my job, and they get to hide behind the county manager saying there's no money there when there's other revenues that you can tap. And it may not be an example, which I was trying to make one time. We pay out of the general fund, uh, and it's probably less now, but weed management, noxious weeds, and it's it was up to around 300,000 at one time. I don't know if it's still around that figure or not, but there is in statute the ability for the counselors to put that on the tax statement and have it the administrative costs built into that. So it's like the mosquito control district where it's self serving. They have their own revenue stream and can operate on their own. It would free up some general fund monies so that some of these other programs that people want to have or matching grant monies or whatever they want to do can happen. And that part doesn't story isn't really told out there because we know that there are other sources of funds. And when we go up to Olympia to lobby and ask for money, they'll say, well, you're not taking all the stuff that we've already authorized for you to take. Well, it's because our commissioners don't want to have to, or counselors don't want to have to do the tax hike. The legislature doesn't want to give out tax hikes. They'll give you the authority to go out there and tax, but it's your fault if you tax people.
So
So they're playing this game, and so what I was trying to do was to explain to people what the process of the preliminary budget process, and then of course D would say that would require that there be a review of the preliminary budget for each executive office and department. The county manager shall provide a total, Brian, the county manager.
that's
I don't, and that's substantive. So I don't, I'm not saying that we would do that in this one, but the other two are more descriptive of the budget process under what the state law allows us, so that people just have a little better understanding of how the budget process works.
Yeah, I think the first two are fine. On D, because it's creating a requirement to do so, that's outside of our purview.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
I'd say cut D, but B and C,
Yeah,
since they
yeah.
are statutorily required and stated, I think just having that clarity there, I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, and that's why I put do not this under D, because I think that needs to have some further discussion down the road.
Yeah, I agree.
I know the elected officials feel frustrated because the deal's all being cut behind the scenes by the budget office, and it's not really as open budgeting, but they are making decisions about policies of what people can do or not. And so that's why I just thought that, okay, the departments are asking for this amount of money. The commissioner is saying, oh, but we only have this amount to spend, when they really have another source of funding that they could do to do that if they chose to do that. But they don't want to look like that they're adding more costs to government. And it's unrealistic because there is cost going up, and I know you guys don't work for free, so there's got to be
I don't know, we're working for free
some
right
understanding about that.
But yeah, I think that's something for the commission
Yeah,
at large to figure out as a.
the number, and I could leave the RCW in there, but that isn't the right RCW because for the treasurer under F, under 4.1F, and I would prefer taking that statute out. There's no one real statute that talks about the duties of the treasurer. They're in a myriad of areas. They're under 8456, 3629, and other statutes, 3648. And so I would just state that the duties of the treasurer are those specified under federal law and Washington State Constitution and state statutes, because those statutes will change over periodically. So that's one of the things I wasn't really too enthusiastic about. But yeah, I understand reading the document, but maybe that's why you need to have a charter review every 5 years, because those statutes will change and they may be in existence or may not be in existence. They could be another number that they sometimes they'll combine stuff and change it to a whole different number, because of the numbering system the code revisor does up in Olympia is what you're subject to. So that's why I'm always nervous about.
I mean, maybe that could be a footnote one, like currently as of 2021, this statute,
Yeah.
if you wanted to go to that level.
But I would anyway strongly recommend this RCW is not really the
encompassing.
only yeah it isn't. And so if you did RCW 3629, that would be a little bit better, because there's probably 40 or 50 statutes under that, and rather than that one single statute. So, but there's also 8456 and 3648. So I mean, you could go down the list of the different areas, but that's just for one office. And the auditor dealing with reports to the county council, that is a specific task because he's providing that function for the county, where the duties of the treasurer are varied for the county too, and the auditor too, to some degree. They have some other statutes where they do auditing. They'll audit your departments and do sort of like performance audits and stuff like that. So anyway, I would just leave it as under federal, state, Washington state laws, and then if they want to go back, do that. So that's my suggestion, is taking that RCW out. Is there any more on section 4? Okay, we'll go to section 5. Oh, I had a change in here, which it was a clerical error. And if you, see, B 5, if you look at the sheriff, they talk about the sheriff in the section above that. Somehow when they were cutting and pasting, they got things messed up. We had to have legal counsel and brought in the county manager to make an interpretation. It got to be really, it was, you could definitely see that there was what was given to the clerk that they had cut and paste that piece when they originally created this. So what we're doing is just putting it back like everybody is on the same salary schedule to get their pay increases. So anyway, there is this just makes it better. I'm sure the prosecutor's office would like to see this change because they had to go out on I don't want to say a limb, but on a little thinner ice to make a ruling, and then have the county manager agree to that ruling so that everybody is on the same process. And it was because they left out that on the date implemented, which they had in the section above. So we're just trying to make it all consistent, is what I'm, I guess, trying to say in that.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we'll keep that.
Yeah. In the same area, just a couple little housekeeping ones too. As we said, because it was still the initial charter, it says the salary initially shall be this much. We'll want to clean that up. Do we need to even state what it currently is, or can we just say the salary shall be based on Washington State Salary Commission?
I would I'd want to make sure that I had the attorneys involved who were involved in that, to make sure that that would be okay. If that doesn't mess things up, I don't know. Even in current law, it shows the salaries of the elected officials that started back in I don't know what year, but the probably the 20s, but it was like $14,000 or something like that for the county treasurer, and or in some areas, depending on the size of the county, you were started at $4,000. So that's still in statute, but
so for now, why don't we just update the numbers to what they currently are, because they changed in 2020 and they're going to change again in 2022. So right now, the salary of council members, and it wouldn't be initially anymore, the salary of council members is $66,300 annually for the county website.
Okay, I'll put in that figure, whatever it's in the county website. I am wanting to discuss the salaries, but it's a substantive thing. We could put in what we have right now.
Well, and
consider
if we end up
non-substantive.
changing what the chair role is or how it's chosen, that would complicate things too. But I don't think that's our.
Well, I'm pretty sure the group has said we're just going to 5 districts and let the council make their own choice. I mean, we've gone through that, so I assume the county chair piece is gone, but we may want to add, because I don't know. It's something that people need to think a little bit more about if we wanted to add a little deference to someone having to go out to do ribbon cuttings all the time. But it says that the chair can ask someone else to go out there to cut the ribbon. So, you know, I just feel that we've created a problem by not paying people enough for these positions. And I think in the future, there needs to be a living wage because it limits really the type of people that can run for this office. You got to be a spouse that's very wealthy. It's difficult to be a young person, especially with a family. You've got to be in a job that your boss is going to let you do whatever time you want to take off to do stuff and get paid for that, or or you're retired and you're wealthy. I mean, it just limits the scope of who's going to be looking at the policies for our future generations. And I think that that we need to revisit that. But that is a substantive thing. We can put in what we have current, but I hope that there's going to be a discussion about that before we make the final decisions on the verbiage for our
Yeah,
for
I'm kind
counselors.
of hoping that some of this gets addressed in the changes that some of the other subcommittees are making.
I don't think
At least discussions
it's
come up.
really been brought up yet, so I'm hoping, and maybe I need to bring it up at our next meeting on Wednesday to talk about that. But I'm proposing $95,000 starting, and then it will go up there. But you know, the mean income in Clark County is about that 66,000 right now. So we expect a lot from these leaders, and they need to be doing a better job of overseeing the policies and processes of the county. But they have to worry about making a living and supporting their families too. But you got one who's a retired judge. You got a couple others that, I mean, everybody's in
got
the
a
real estate
military
industry.
pension.
Yeah, they're going out selling houses in between, and then also talking about growth management.
So anywho, just kicking my just back towards the committee work.
Oh, sure.
Sorry, it's already 3:15. I'm happy to continue, but
I'm sorry, I didn't even look at the time. So we'll put in the dollar amounts.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, dollar amounts and dates. That just needs a little update for now, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and because number 2 could change on us, and I don't know if we'd be the committee we may have to come back and address 5.52, or somebody's going to have to. Whether you want it higher than the other members.
Yeah, we'll put a mark on that to make sure we talk about it, I think.
Okay. Do you want me to adjust everybody else's?
Oh, yeah, there's the
Or
the other officers, 100,920 in 2014, and the sheriff, 106,224 in 2014.
Okay.
And that relationship with the Washington State Salary Commission, that still is the same as it was 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're the ones that actually do that. That's why that change has to happen, because it wasn't clear on, they make the decision and then a year later you get that salary when everybody else is getting their salary change right after that. So there was a definitely clerical error, and that's what the county manager ruled on, and the prosecuting attorney's office ruled on, that it was a clerical error, and he went ahead and gave the other elected officials the same. So it's basically just putting it in statute what the county's already doing and how they interpret it.
Okay. Great.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
putting it in the charter. Anything else on 5 point on section Article 5?
Not for me. I think 6 is going to be rehashed potentially pretty thoroughly.
Yeah, there is a couple of things that I had brought up because there weren't things that folks. One is that would know. I had talked to the elections office, and they said under 6.1, where it says nominating primaries, that doesn't really occur anymore because we are a top 2-tier state.
Right.
And she suggested that's old language. It's there in statute, but she doesn't need to be there. So she recommended deleting that.
Yeah. I
And
think that's a
then
great change.
so it'd be election procedures, except provided in this charter, primaries in general, and I put primaries and general elections shall be conducted according to the general law governing the election of county officials, period. And
That looks
just,
good to me.
okay. And then I didn't, under 6.46, I thought because, we've already done the initial, that we
Yep.
got the word initial.
Yep.
And then under,
Yeah.
so I guess those are my suggestions for that section.
They work for me.
And 7,
And
did
I think
anybody?
oh, sorry. Okay.
Go ahead.
Nothing else for 6. I think that like we'll want to take a closer look after we decide how that might change. But I don't have anything else for 6 right now. Okay.
Yeah. And anybody wants to, ping me and say, let's get another meeting together, we'll do that.
I think probably after our June deadlines would be good.
Okay.
Touch base again.
Article 7, anything there? I didn't have anything.
This is
I
one.
don't think we're really got a committee looking at this stuff at all.
Not really. It's pretty cut and dry and laid out, but it's also something I think that's not very easily understandable for the public. This is the kind of area where I feel like adding more stuff that I don't think really belongs in our work right here to help be like, this is what this is. This is how you do it.
Or
But I don't have any.
Yeah.
Or later,
Sorry,
just
Anthony.
as citizens having, pushing the elections office to create better guidance, just for the public in general.
Yeah. Like here's a pamphlet about this. How you can engage with the government, because I think this is so darn important. But I don't have any edits right now. For
Yeah, the auditor's office tends to not do a lot of, I think, as much as they could outreach, explanations and stuff. I mean, he does the minimum, I guess. I mean, he does what he has to do, but there could be a lot more done on this. So we'll just leave section Article 7 then.
I think
Is that
for
what I'm
now.
hearing?
I think there were a couple typos, but that'll be our last thing we do, I think.
Yeah, I need. I'll have to
Did you
sit
see
and,
typos? Were there typos in that section?
Can't confirm right now.
Okay.
I think there
Right.
were.
I'll go back and look too.
We'll Well, whatever we change, we're gonna have to comb through it one more time for typos and things anyway. So I think we'll catch those then.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. If we all look at 7, we'll see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
hoping that the prosecutor will also see this as she goes through this. In section 8, under I had a question under, I don't know, 8.1. Do you have anything on 8.1 or 8.2? Or I had something under 8.8. Did anybody have anything under 8?
Taking a quick look. Yeah, there was some content stuff, but I don't think anything that I had for this group.
I had something where I added
Oh yeah, bonds. So refunding of bonds.
why do I see that now? Strange.
Where you put it as an addition?
I see that already in here. I copied this off and it's already in here. I'm gonna go back out and take a look again, because if that's already in there, then I'm not gonna worry about it. But for the sale or refunding of bonds,
Yeah, it's in
is it?
there.
Yeah, it is in there.
Wow.
Um, maybe I was hallucinating and looking at something else at the time, but I was concerned that the council by ordinance has to, for sale or uh, refunding of bonds. I mean, if there anything that deals with debt, that's their responsibility. And it seemed like it. Oh, I know. Some people when they see the word bonds, they think that it's a, bonds of getting out of jail or something like that. And so
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure that it was refunding bonds, but it's in here. So I think we're covered. But I'm gonna go back out and look again. I mean, I printed it off, so it has to be right. So
I'm seeing it too.
ah, anyway, maybe I've been staring at the charter too long.
So I did have one. This is in the notes I don't have with me, but we list under non-discrimination all the same categories that Washington State has declared as protected classes, but we don't include one that they added since the release of this charter, the gender identity and gender expression. So if we're going to
Uh,
still go along with what Washington State says, then we should maybe add that.
And I
under
brought that up for our
it,
discussion during one of our meetings too,
it,
to just ensure that they matched.
eight
Yeah, to make them aligned.
8.7.
Yeah.
Who's on that committee? Are they going to address that?
We
Well,
didn't put
here's the
together.
thing. It's not a DEI piece. This is a alignment with the state law piece, where
Okay,
state law added an item to that same list. So should we also add that item? It also
sure.
is a DEI thing too, but
We could add it since we've got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's just one
We're,
of the easy things. Like if people have a question about it, it's just meeting that RCW. That's all it's
yeah.
doing.
so how do you want to word that?
Well, in Washington, it's sex, race and color, religion and creed, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity and gender expression, disability and the use of a trained dog, guide, or service animal, and honorably discharged veteran or military status. So I think it's just adding into the list the gender identity and gender expression.
Where do you want to
Let
put
me
that?
see. I had it linked. I wish I had the.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I mean, I think we should
Do you want to send that
just
back
add it
out?
into the
49,
list.
Send it to me.
4960 RCW. I can put it in the chat here.
Yeah, perfect.
Or
What is
let
it?
me find the specific one.
40?
It's 49.60. I'm trying to find where in the chapter that is.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
yeah,
I'll
it's
be just a second.
I know I found it pretty
Y-
quickly. I went
I mean,
away.
if you want, you could just send that to me by email and I'll stick it in here.
I'll put a link in the chat here.
Okay. If I have any problems, Chris, I'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah, we could take a look at it later and get back with it.
Well, we could stick it in there. That's fine.
Trying to find where it was added.
Yeah, I know there's an RCW that it's like here within called the non-discrimination policy, and then it has the full. And I'm trying to find that exact one because I think I'm finding the same the 49.60.030. Is that what you're finding, Chris?
Is that where it is? 030. I was trying to find where it specifically was mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a specific one that it's just the non-discrimination policy written out, and yeah, it's escaping me now and it's bugging me.
I'll double check my notes at home. I think I had a more specific place for it, or if somebody else finds it first, we can check it again.
Okay.
But yeah,
I'll try to look for it, but if you could send it, that way we could have it the accurate wording there. But I think that'd be appropriate. Article 9. Anything in there? I know that there's a group working on that.
Yeah, they're gonna have their own thing.
So, but I don't.
Did we actually make a group working on that, or did we just? I think we just kind of agreed to some language changes. I don't think we actually put together a group to look at that.
There's no. I thought there was an Article 9 subcommittee. Maybe not.
Because I didn't record it. We didn't usually do. I think we just. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we just said so. We want to change that to 5 years, 2 years, yada yada.
We just had our first touch on it only, I think.
Yeah, so we'll have that. We'll have more about that at this next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so I won't. Article.
For that piece.
Yeah, Article 10. I was thinking, unless there was something else that we don't need that Article 10 anymore, do we?
Well, we might need it again, depending on what's a coming. I mean, if we're changing the number of districts and all of that again, we'll need a altered transitional provisions article. So that's the one that's really hard to do until we understand what's to come.
Sorry, there. I'm gonna get rid of this.
So maybe that's one that when all of the upcoming like ballot provisions are kind of rented, and then we go through and make the transitional provisions that match up with that. But
okay,
I'm wondering if we might need a group to actually focus on that instead of just the Clarity Commission.
Yeah.
Let me have a second. I think I have one question for Article 9.
You had a question?
Yeah, on Article 9.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Back there.
The first part's about the commission, and then it talks about amendment proposed by the public, which we'll want to examine again. But just particularly 9.7 codification amendments to the charter shall be incorporated in the text of the original charter and published. Text of the transition article shall appear only in the initial charter as published. If we're not going to have a transition article, we don't really need that. And amendments to the charter shall be incorporated in the charter, the new charter, not the original charter. I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
How about just charter as published? Yeah, because this will be the published one. So if we took out the word initial.
Yeah, I dropped the initial and I dropped the original even.
Okay.
I mean, amendments to the charter shall be incorporated. Do we even need that whole sentence?
Well, now I'm looking at it, I'm seeing it because I think if this is also looking at any amendments that are made by the public between charter reviews, I think it's trying to say that it's not creating a new charter, it's taking a charter and changing some words to it. So I think that's
the existing charter.
I think when it's saying the original charter, I don't think it's meaning like the original charter. I think it's saying the original charter before modifications.
How about current charter?
Current charter.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that
that's
makes
clear.
sense.
Okay.
Because there'll be multiple charters, changes to charter
Yeah.
over
Yeah, I think it's
generations.
the word
You,
original, I think, is the problem.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
you
exactly,
guys will see
exactly.
probably
Thank you
about
for
3 or 4 changes. I won't. This is
Not with that
this is it.
attitude.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then the second sentence, do we need?
Well, I think that's the question, is if we need a second transition section
Okay.
based
So we answered
on,
that first. Okay.
yeah, so I think keep that for
Put a little
now.
question mark on that one. Yeah.
Because I think adding a fifth district will require some bit of
Transition.
transition.
You're right. You're right. But basically, I think we're scrapping the transitional article and writing a new
rewriting
one.
it. Yeah.
yeah, the section that talks about transition to council district selections, terms of office under 10.6. That's sort of what we're really probably all going to address in this transitional one, is just going from 4 to 5 districts rather than and how that happens. I know that
And I'm wondering if nonpartisan would require something in there. I think once we see like the ballot measure version of these, and kind of we'll have to look at the
yeah, they're being drafted.
encompassing of it.
Yeah, they're being drafted, but we are trying to pull some pieces together so that they're together so that and we hopefully don't leave things out, so that when voters are voting on it, that they're voting on all these different sections. That's what makes it a little nervous when you rush this at the very end, that you may leave pieces out. So I think is there anything more that we need to address
I think
today?
that's a great initial overview.
Yeah, I will sort of pull together the changes that we made and send them out. And I think we have a couple questions that we need to get either from legal or
Okay.
if you want to get, I mean, I can look up the verbiage on that needs to be what needs to be put in there. But if you have it and want to just email it out, that's fine too. And I'll just email this out to the entire group, because I know that I'll have to pull a ballot type of drafting thing together with all these changes, and a lot of that tends to be what happens a lot in these charter updates. The charter review committees, they have a section which is sort of clarifying, cleanups, technical stuff, and they just sort of describe what it is, and people will just vote for it because it's just cleaning up stuff that's not substantive. And
Yeah, I just sent you.
but you still got to have it in there, and people have got to vote on it.
Yeah, I sent the one that King County did. That's all their language
Oh my gosh.
clean up, and so you
Yeah.
can see what it looks like.
Yeah,
This is amazing.
It's literally just like
yeah, it
the
hurts my
tracking,
brain. Yeah,
the word track, the review tracking on Word.
yeah. No, those guys, they must really love it. I'm sort of more in the area of Clallam counties, which is tends to be similar. But it's interesting that they had districts for county commissioners, councilors, and they've gone back to county-wide because people wanted to have an impact and vote on those folks. Because it used to be you could vote on all three. Home rule, you got two. Now we're talking about one. And for me as a voter, I have no influence. I mean, the charter doesn't have influence when you're always in the minority. And if you have more influence and be able to vote on all of these guys who are making the decisions on public health or law and justice or how the budgets are. So
It goes both
yeah,
ways, unfortunately. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
because when you go down to smaller groups, then smaller communities can be better represented within them. So
But do we
it
have?
goes the other way of like
Yeah,
one way, you lose something and you gain something in both
yeah.
directions, in both ways.
But
So it's
but I
what
don't
are you
see
willing to
us.
lose and what are you willing to gain?
Do we have small communities? Because I think we tend to be so mixed up.
We absolutely have small communities.
But they're if they're small, if you're talking about minorities, they are small. I'm talking about like areas that you would have, high concentrations of minorities or that, but we don't have enough to mount for a district. It still would be a minority in a district.
But it still gives them more of a voice than they'd have versus the district or the county as a whole within a district. But I mean, a lot of this is just thought exercise. I mean, like I said, it's you gain and lose something either way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess for me as a voter, I feel like I'm losing because I don't have the influence over the direction of what parks they're going to have in the county, or if they're going to have any more parks in the county, or how are they going to set the growth boundary lines to the Lewis River or something like that? And I may not like that. Have a little bit of green left in Clark County, but anyway, yeah, it will be a good discussion when we get out there and get into the town halls and have the debate about all of this. So
yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sticking around for the extra half hour or so and slugging through this thing. And I'll try to get this out and so that we could have a report and we could. I'm sure the other two are probably sipping wine somewhere on a dock or on a boat or doing something fun.
I've been invited to go sip wine right now. Well, 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
So.
Well, you deserve it after going through this. So have a sip for me. So anyway,
fun, guys. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you. We'll stop the meeting and I will be in touch. Okay. And it's worked out great.
Don't forget your recording thing too. I don't know if you have to do anything special to save that.
Meeting is adjourned.
I'm meeting is adjourned, and I'm going to stop the recording right now. Okay.